continue to serve to make the best decisions that we can make. We give you all the glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Are our visitors at this time all signed in? Okay, that's good. Do any of our visitors wish to address the commission this evening? Okay, then we'll dispense with that and go on to the approval of the minutes. And I know we resubmitted the October minutes, and I've still got a problem with them because my name's still spelled wrong in the first paragraph. But if nobody else has a problem with that, I'm going to say they're approved, and we're going to go on.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Oh, hey, we do need a roll call. Ms. Tracy, if you would.
Todd Berry,
Here.
Tina Ferry,
Here.
Darren Green,
Here.
Todd Lindsay,
Here.
Robert Wall,
Here.
Tommy Brown,
Here.
Jeff Chase, Randy Rainey,
Here.
Paul Morgan, here. Amanda Berry,
Here.
Patrick Reagan,
Here.
Mitchell Hardman. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you for that, Ms. Trace. Again, the only mistake I saw left over in the October minutes was my name. Well, somehow I didn't see the other stuff that I thought was erroneous.
That was not a safety.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's go on and let's have discussion though, if anyone has any, about the minutes of the November meeting. The minutes of the November meeting are now
Motion on that October 9th, or
What's that?
If they don't have the corrected version, let's bump that to January, and so we'll only take up the November minutes.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, or questions about the minutes of the November meeting that you were all sent in your packet? Because if you don't, I'm going to ask for someone to move that they be approved as submitted. Mr. Brown moves for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Amanda Berry seconds. It's been moved and duly seconded that the minutes of the November meeting be approved. Those in favor of doing so say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. And the next item on the agenda is, let me turn my page. It is the preliminary plat of Phase 3 of the Park Forest subdivision, tax map 136, parcels 018.00, 018.01, and 018.02 of combined acres of 74.50 on Tidwell Switch Road, Dickson, Tennessee, zoned A1 agriculture in the 7th District. Mr. Hayes.
This was surveyed by Ayler and Associates, creating 45 new lots to be Phase 3 of Park Forest subdivision on Tidwell Switch Road.
Now, I think everyone's seen the exhibits about this. Does anyone have any questions about the exhibits as they were submitted?
Any questions about what? I'm sorry.
About you've got a aerial photographic map of item 1, the third phase of Park Forest subdivision. So do you have any questions or comments about that?
I do.
All right, please go ahead, sir.
I may have missed a meeting when this was originally. Now okay, I was out there today.
Okay.
There's some building going on already, and hopefully I'm looking at the right property. I thought I was. There was a Dickson.
The building is in Phase 1 and Phase 2 that's already been passed and the roads built and all of that. This is Phase 3. It's an adjoining piece of property to what you see in existence out there now.
Okay. Well, I must have missed 1 and 2. I cannot believe that. My only question is, has there been a traffic study done on this entire thing or on Phase 3 separately?
No, there has not been.
Okay. The reason I ask is this particular development, I thought it was larger than that, but 45 new new lots, is that correct, on phase 3? Okay. For that's 45 people, maybe 90 people, could be 150 people, at least 45 vehicles, maybe 90, 100, 120 vehicles. That road is a small 2-lane windy road, and at the road on each side of the development where they are currently building has line of sight that's very, very short. And I'm really concerned with traffic on that road, especially when a lot of semis start coming in for building construction. I am all for development, but this is going to add so much congestion to that area with the new hospital, the QT truck stop that's already there, trucks coming in and out of the big warehouse that's there at the end of Turkey Creek. So I'm surprised, actually, that there hasn't been a traffic study, I guess. I don't know if it's required. Maybe somebody could school me on that. But the road, and my navigation told me the speed limit's 30 miles an hour on that road. Nobody was going under 45 or 50 on that road, and with 150 new vehicles coming in and out of just this subdivision, I'm surprised that those are my objections. I'm not 100% in gear for voting and approving this.
Does any other member have any further discussion about Phase 3 of Park Forest? Mr. Chase, I think your concerns are valid, but, you know, there's objective triggers for a traffic survey and a traffic study, and this didn't hit any of those, but I understand and share a lot of your concern, but I don't know if this is really the time that we can do much about that other than just vote if we approve or not of this preliminary plat. But I think your concerns, I'm glad they've been stated for the record. I'll just say that. We have a speaker for the preliminary plat.
Well, I'm the engineer.
Yes, sir.
I'm the consultant. My name is
Go.
Vince Smith.
Thank you,
I'm going to
Mr.
step back a little further. You had mentioned Phase 1 and 2. They were done maybe three plus or minus years ago.
Yeah, 3.
And the owner of the property didn't actively pursue development. Let's put it that way. And actually, when the preliminary plat may have even been more than 3 years ago, it was passed and it nearly expired. It was about to expire when the final plat was approved. And the final plat was done, you remember, was it a year or so ago? It's been a while. So it's been several years for Phase 1 and 2. Phase 1 and 2, in my mind, is one phase. It's a total of 35 lots, and they are mostly, they're 3/4 of them are 1 acre parcels, and then 1/4 of them are 2.5 acre parcels. The road's been built, they're building homes. Let's talk about tonight's subject, Phase 3 and 4. Phase 3 and 4 fall under your newer rules. They're all 1.5 acres or larger. And another subtle difference in your new rules is our length to width ratio used to be a 4-to-1. The depth could be, 4 times the width, but now your ratio is 3-to-1. So these lots, all of these lots meet all the codes. They're approximately 3-to-1. There's something else that we can talk about. No, I would love to have you all drive through the phase that's been built, if you will. I think it's one of the prettiest subdivisions in Dickson. Very pretty property. Some of it's wooded, some of it's just open meadow. It's going to be beautiful. And this next phase might even, by some people's standards, be a little better looking. They're bigger lots. We have had a soil scientist has looked at the soils. So we've already, progressed to that point of looking at the soils. And so far, we're asking for 45 lots, but when we come back for the final, it may go down, I'm hoping not a whole lot, but it may go down to 43, 42, but that's just how the chips fall sometimes. But it can't be more than 45, I can assure you that. There's not enough real estate there to do that. Turkey Creek is in that neighborhood, and Tidwell Switch hits Turkey Creek. I live on Turkey Creek, so I'm very familiar with the area. That property is approximately 1 mile from the interstate, from exit 172. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about that, but it's my wife. I keep looking at her because she's the brains behind the operation. If you were to go out there now, in addition, you'll get a treat to some pretty Christmas lights at the corner of Tidwell Switch and Turkey Creek Road. But I would love to have you guys look at that. I am one of the owners as well as the engineer on the project. Another owner might make his presence known tonight, but there's 3 of us, and we're all here in Dickson, or the county of Dickson, and I've been working here at my business for too many years, and so we're really dedicated to making this a really nice subdivision, and that's why we're kind of proud. I want you to come out and see it, because the first phase is wonderful looking, and the second phase we think will even be better.
Mr. Smith, I'll ask you a question.
Oh, I didn't even touch on the traffic study. Typically, what we see on traffic studies is there's a threshold of 100 lots, and when you hit 100 lots, you do a traffic study. Ours two combined is in the whatever 45 plus 35, so that's 80. So we're kind of considerably under that threshold.
Mr. Smith, I will ask a question. It's been a period of time since I've rode out to Tidwell Switch. That is a narrow road. It's shot and chip a few years back. I think now it's 2-lane.
It's
marked,
paved.
now
It's
paved.
Yeah.
Not a lot of shoulder on either side, correct? Is that correct?
I've driven it for the last 30 years, and I don't remember.
Pretty narrow road, best I remember.
Unless they've re-engineered it very recently, there are no shoulders.
Okay. And I know where Mr. Chase is going with this. I understand what he's saying. This is a lot of lots, and it's very well done, I'll say. There's a lot more open land, and I know how this is going to go, especially with its location close to the interstate. I know there's going to keep being more building and more building and more building. There's going to be a point in time here when Tidwell Switch will not handle the traffic. I do see that coming. And what type of resolution, how do we, I'm asking a question here. How do we do this, moving forward? As more land sales out there, and right, this is 80 lots, but the next one, there's some big parcels of land still left out there.
Yes.
How are we going to move forward with another 40, 50 homes on another parcel, and then maybe another 40, 50 homes? You pretty quickly exceed
Right.
the road.
If I'm lucky, I may be that person who comes back at this board, and at that point in time, we will cross over that threshold of 100, and I need to look at one of my partners and see, maybe get a nod and a wink, but we probably would not mind committing to doing that even before we showed up.
That just reminds me of a comment by the late Jack Warner that a verbal contract isn't worth the paper it's written on. But yeah, as long as it's you, I'm sure you will try to do this responsibly. But we kind of have to take in care of the interest of the folks that are going to be here when we're not. And I think these concerns are very, very valid. And I do agree with as much nice land as remains on down that road. Something's going to happen to it at some point. And I don't mean 50 years from now. I mean in the fairly immediate future, the next 10 or 12 years, a lot's going to happen. But I mean, we can't really put that on him right now, but I'm glad that everybody sees where this is headed, just like I'm glad that he knows that with 45 lots in this part of Middle Tennessee, they're not all 45 going to perk. We all know that, too. And I don't think the sewers are running out there anytime soon. But does anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns about this item, which is, and is, I know you referred to 3 and 4. This is just 3 we're discussing tonight, sir. Right?
Oh.
Just 3.
Okay.
So
okay.
we need to focus.
When we come back for the final, we'll probably come back, it might be the final might be broken, split into
4A and 4B.
a 3 and a 4. But it won't be, the 3 to 4 combined will equal this, but we might break it into a small portion and in a phase.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just...
Please, Counsel.
So this is a preliminary plat. It's a vesting document.
That was going to be my point.
Owner of the plat to develop under the laws that exist at the time, they apply and get vested under. To traffic, I want to point out that the county has adopted a traffic impact study guideline, and there are a few triggers for a traffic impact study. One of them is any subdivision in excess of 50 lots. This is 45. So that's why the county did not require them to do a traffic impact study, as they do not have the requisite number of lots. There's a number of other triggers, but they don't apply here. Number of square feet, HUD.
Is there anything about aggregate? I mean, if we go down one road and we have 40 to 45 acre, or 40 for 45 lot, acre and a half lots down that road, we're not going to ever trigger it, but we're going to have a big problem.
Mr. Chairman, that's a good point, but we have to look at things based upon the preliminary plat, saying this is the area to be developed. And I think what Mr. Smith was saying is that when he comes back, if it's the will of this body to approve the preliminary plat, he will not come back with a final plat for all 45 lots. He's going to phase them out and do maybe 20 or 30, and then the rest, whatever they choose for their phasing. Is that right?
Or we might come back with, well, I mean, the only reason we might come back with a phase is to allow us to sell some quicker. But we may come back in the same night. In fact, we're not opposed to coming back in the same night with both phases. So, but it's not a big deal if we do, multiple phases.
There's one sense in which, Mr. Smith, I would differ and say there is. The construction traffic for 145 lot subdivision is not completely analogous to developing 20 lots and then developing 25 lots after those 20 are developed. That's my concern is very much what Mr. Berry was saying. I think what Mr. Chase was saying. That much construction traffic on that little road that's already got considerable development down it now, that could become quite problematic. That I think that's the concern of everybody on this body, because again, there's nobody here that's trying to stop development, doesn't want people to live in our county. That's not what it is. But the traffic concern is a legitimate concern.
I have something.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Mr.
It may be a Mr. Mills question, but because it's broken into phases, I mean, obviously it exceeds the 50 lot for the traffic study, but so they can actually get by with this by splitting it into phases, even though the total development exceeds the amount of lots?
So the way we have to look at this, and it's a valid question, but our regs don't speak to this, we look at the preliminary plan. So it's common to see really large subdivisions that are, let's just say, 500 lots. Someone has to come in with a preliminary plat for the whole thing, and they may break it up into 10 different phases, but that's what you look at for the triggers as written. Years ago, they did a preliminary plat and a final plat on a different section. Now, it's going to be connected at some point, but that's the nature of development to an extent. You could have an old subdivision that's there 20, 30 years, and someone comes in
builds on
next door, and maybe they're connecting into a stub out on the road in that old existing subdivision. It's not triggering for that because that traffic already exists. You know, if they were to have to do a traffic study, the other existing homes are going to already be in what's called the background of what's already happening there, so you don't double up that way. I mean, I know it sounds like, aren't they just piecemealing it to stay under 50? The way it's written is we look at the preliminary plat to see what is here. How many lots are you doing? Once you hit 50, you have to do a traffic impact study. If it's a commercial development, once you're doing 25,000 square feet or more, you have to do a traffic impact study. If it's a PUD, which we don't see PUDs very often, you have to do a traffic impact study. If it's a major subdivision that's on a state highway that has a speed limit over 30 miles an hour, they have to do a traffic impact study. None of the triggers were here. Now, if we need to re-look back at these triggers and we can have further conversations about that, I think it's worth a discussion, but we have to look at the laws that exist when they apply. And, you know, I've not been made aware of any deficiency in this preliminary plat, and if it's the will of this body to deny it, you have to state
why.
for the record where in the subdivision regulations you believe they have failed.
And Counselor, as we've already stated, the developer has, and I believe you have too, Phase 1 and Phase 2, they're there and they exist, and they're mostly built out. And they were under a previous regulatory regime that we're not under anymore, but we can't go back and impose any aspect of that new one to those old pre-existing lots that are, as they're developed. So, I mean, I'm willing to discuss this however long we feel we need to discuss it, but you know, other than, I think all these, like, again, I'm happy these concerns were expressed. I'm happy to have them on the record, but unless somebody has something else, I would say the chair would entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat of Phase 3 of Park Forest subdivision.
Mr. Shea.
One more thing additionally. What I am pro-development. When I was in Arizona real estate broker, and we did some development. I am definitely in favor of development. I am really in favor of smart development. Instead of making money, giving people a development that works with where you're trying to build. And here, I just want to make sure that everybody, I'm sure, is aware that the gas storage facility was under a previous long-term zoning thing, couldn't do anything about it. And that's creeping now, what I feel, unfortunately, into this, because we're not looking at what can happen down the road. We're looking at only where, like our counselor mentioned, the triggers are right now. And I think, in my mind, in my heart, I have to look at what's going forward and where we're going to be. Like Ms. Berry said, can you do 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and all of a sudden you got 3,000 houses because people have skipped underneath this. And I think it's time to, as Barney used to say, nip it in the bud.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Chase. I have one more question, which I don't know if it's
If it's for Councilman Smith. There's a thing on here that says proposed mailbox kiosk. Now, we've talked about this before. I don't think the post office is going to start bringing the mail down Mandalorian Way, are they? Not from what the noises they've been making, at least. So who is going to own that proposed kiosk, and who's going to have responsibility for it?
The kiosk will be common ground area for the homeowners association.
Okay, all right. So, and the HOA will be able to enforce such dues as are needed.
Correct.
So, okay, I kind of like having that on the record too. All right, I've got a question for you, Counselor. I anticipate this not being unanimous. Should I go ahead and ask for a roll call, or should I ask for a voice vote? And if it's...
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's up to you. I mean, you can bypass the voice vote and just do a roll call, but we don't have a pending motion yet.
Okay. Yeah, no one's moved to do anything yet. That's correct.
But yes, you can call roll.
Does anybody have any problem with this that we need to address before we put it to a vote?
Mr. Chairman, I'll say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a very nice development. And my concern, I'll make sure my concerns are understood. I'm looking at future just like some of the other folks are. I'm just thinking about future, and I'm not saying that we need to fail this one, whatever, pass it, whatever. I'm not leading anybody to any direction here. Just simply think we as a body have to look at the future at some point here and talk about these smaller roads. This is an area that's going to be developed. It is. And it's a good area to develop. And I think they are onto something good here. We just need to think, moving forward, as we get through this one, we need to start looking at some of this and thinking about how to handle this in the future.
I agree with that, and I'm totally in sympathy with what you're saying. It's just we can't do this to him right now. But you're correct, and I think at some point we need to probably form a subcommittee or something to study. And the main thing I'm always advocating is let's see what's already working other places that we sort of admire and see what they're doing, and then emulate it with exemptions and changes for Dickson County. Not just blindly copy somebody, but do what they're doing that works. That having been said, is there a motion for the approval of preliminary plat of Phase 3 Park Forest subdivision?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Patrick Reagan has moved for approval. Is there a second? Mr. Todd Lindsay seconds it. Again, I think we might as well go with a roll call vote. So if you would, Mr. Hayes, could you go ahead and call the roll? And the motion is on approval of the preliminary plat of Phase 3 of Park Forest subdivision.
Todd Berry,
Yes.
Tina Ferris,
Yes.
Darren Green,
I'm going to have to abstain from this.
Can you state your reason for that for the record, Mr. Green?
Me and Trent's working together on this project.
Then that's perfectly valid reason. Thank you, sir.
Todd Lindsay,
Yes.
Robert Qualls,
Yes.
Tommy Brown,
Yes.
Jeff Chase, Randy Ramey,
Yes.
Paul Organ,
Yes.
Amanda Berry,
Yes.
Patrick Reagan.
Yes.
Do you have a vote of 9-1, Mr. Hayes?
Yes,
like I
sir.
do? Okay. The motion is approved. And we will now move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the preliminary plat of the Overholt subdivision, tax map 091, parcel 037.00, 21.5 acres at 921 Yellow Creek Road, Dickson, Tennessee, in A1 Agriculture, 9th District.
This was also surveyed by Ayler and Associates, creating 7 new lots on Yellow Creek Road.
And Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out, this is a sketch plat. It was on the agenda as a preliminary plat.
I'm glad you addressed that.
So, just, I've seen a ton of these, but for a major subdivision, the first thing you're supposed to do is a sketch plat like this, and then you move to a preliminary plat, and then you move to a final plat. This does not require a vote. This is just
Informational?
on what they're doing. You have thoughts. Gives them time before they put the money and resources into a preliminary plat to kind of get your thinking. So it's really for the body to provide comment on. Again,
And no development rights appertain to this sketch plat. There's nothing vested that we would, by looking at it, whereas we just created for Mr. Smith a vested right to develop Phase 3 of Park Forest. So with that in mind, let's have the discussion. Does anybody see things they like about this, things they don't like, things that you just, it's got to change or I'll not be for it? Because, again, this is an informational item, as councilors explained, so we don't have to take action on it. And it's just that, hey, it's on record that y'all are aware that this sketch plat has been submitted. And really, that's about it, isn't it? We're all aware of it. None of us are having a major heartburn about it sitting here. Okay.
it's a little unusual to have
No.
2 50-foot wide easements on there. We talked about that before the meeting, but that's permitted under Dickson County regulations for subdivisions. you can only have one lot served by an easement to a public road. Once you go to 2, you have to bring that easement up to county road standards. So there's a reason they're only doing one easement for these 2 almost 5-acre lots. They can stay gravel or church or tar.
Yeah, they sure can.
But you've got your smaller, I mean, this is all A1, but you've got your smaller 1.5-ish acre lots on the front. So it's a little unusual looking, but it just at first blush, when we were looking at it, there's nothing glaring that's in violation of the zoning resolution, subdivision regulations, but obviously general commentary is warranted at this stage.
I appreciate those remarks, Counselor. That concludes the agenda items for tonight, but does anyone have anything else that they would like to bring up or that we need to suspend the rules to address? Because I'm open to doing that if somebody needs to, but I'm not going to keep us sitting here all night if nobody needs to do that.
Mr. Claus, I'm going to point out one thing on this.
Yes, sir.
As I look at that, it's a large wooded area in the back.
Okay, let's.
And we've seen in the past, we've seen some lots, and this will pass as it is. As I see this will pass. But my concern always is that we have those large wooded areas in the back, and that's not prime land that someone may choose not to buy. We don't want to ever see that happen, and then the taxes stop being paid on it, and it just falls into...
It's deeds to the county, and the county owns this land that's not very useful.
Yes.
And isn't drawing any revenue.
And like I said, this is acceptable.
Yes.
The way we do it, but that's always a concern of mine.
Well, we've addressed that concern, I think, several times in the last 5 years. Now, here's where, let's take a little bit of time, because we've talked about this. Do we want to form a subcommittee, task force or something to address just what we addressed here when we were discussing Park Forest, which is something that will keep people, or just to prevent a bunch of little 40-lot subdivisions, one after the other, down a county road, and say, well, the regulations don't address that, so there doesn't have to be a traffic study, it doesn't have to be this, doesn't have to be that. Is anybody interested in pursuing that? Which, the last time we did a big change, a few of us, I know I was one of them, called up several counties in adjoining state that were about the size of Dickson County, about the same distance from their principal city that we are from Nashville. And we asked them, how do you all handle this thing? And is somebody interested in doing that? Because I'd be happy for somebody to volunteer to do that and to form a subcommittee of 3 of us or so, or 3 of y'all, and go and look at this thing before it gets way out of hand.
I would
Mr.
be
Chase?
interested in serving on one. I don't want to be in charge, but I will be a foot soldier for doing whatever needs to be done.
Well, that's all I was doing that time. I think somebody else was over it, but I did a lot of the calling, and it was worthwhile activity. I learned a lot about planning and zoning by talking to a lot of other people. I learned which other counties I might want to move to if I ever had to leave here, and which ones I didn't. And that may be all anybody learns out of it. But okay, are you interested in doing that, Mr. Berry? Okay. Well, who would like to serve with Mr. Berry and Mr. Chase on a subcommittee to address the issue of sequential development out long stretches of county? Why don't we, I think, it doesn't need to be all of us. I think 3 or 4 people working on this is enough. So if the 3 of you all will get together after the meeting here and talk about when do you want to meet and how much you can do virtually and how much you want to do in person and all of that. I said, all I did with these other counties, I didn't do what I used to do. I didn't drive to all of them. I called the courthouse and I found out who was the right person to talk to. And, sometimes you go through 2 or 3 people till you get somebody that knows something, and then you make some good contacts and get some good information. So Mr. Berry, if y'all will set a time, get together. Is there anything else we need to address in the formal part of this meeting before we wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
You'll probably get an email tomorrow or Monday on your training requirements.
Okay.
YouTube link has
Okay.
videos for hours. Please try to watch it when you can. If it goes into January, that's okay, but if you'll email back and let them know that you've done it so we can check you off, that'd be great.
Okay. One other thing I'm going to address again, we're going to be proactive on it. You're all going to get this conflict of interest statement soon from the state where you've got to say what you're invested in and who you owe money to and who owes you, all that stuff, that intrusive stuff that they ask every year. And again, because that thing I only log into once a year, I never remember how to do it, and I want to do it on paper again. But and a few of the other members might be the same way, but I did want to address that that's coming up. That's always something to look forward to at New Year's.
I have something.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you may not have been through that all before.
No, not yet.
Oh, it's a real joy, and
Oh,
you
great.
can't wait to do it.
I just, going back to the subcommittee, whatever, I do not mind helping. I'm not qualified to be over anything. But another thing
If
that-
you'd like to join with them, I don't think they'll run you off. And,
No.
and again, you probably know more at this phase of your service than I did when I'd been on this thing the same amount of time you've been, so you're fine.
The only other thing that I would like to address maybe when we're figuring out what other counties are doing is this lot behind the other lots.
If y'all would delve into that, again, that's almost a white elephant in the room that nobody's ever talked about. Is all this where all the good stuff along the right of way there lays nice and all. They're good people build nice houses, then they got this big woods behind them that belongs to nobody. And that's not a good situation. Mr. Berry's right about that. That's a problem, and when it's really a problem, it's when that land catches fire or there's something going on back in there that nobody can say, well, I don't own it. I mean, I think they're doing something back there. I think they're growing something or cooking something, but I'm not back there and it's not my property, so I don't have any right. Yeah, we need to address that too. Let's broaden that subcommittee to do that too. Well, having said that, does anybody else have any other business that properly comes before the Dickson County Planning Commission? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Berry moves to adjourn. We got a second from Mr. Reagan. We're adjourned.
So those three members of that subcommittee.
We got 4 now.